Today, I'm sharing something we all know. As parents, our most beloved ones are definitely our children. No matter when, we always consider our children. Especially nowadays, many elderly people always spoil the children. When they see their children under a lot of life pressure or struggling with work, they use their savings or retirement money to support them, allowing them to lighten their burdens and live a little better. So, parental love is selfless. As long as our children are happy, all our efforts are worth it. However, there are exceptions. Mr. Lou, from our neighborhood, is not like this. He and his wife were once civil servants, earning good salaries and saving a lot of money. Now, both of them have retired, and their combined retirement pensions add up to over 10,000 yuan. But after retirement, they haven't given their children a single penny. This puzzles people. Other parents are particularly fond of their children, actively giving them money, but they firmly refuse to give their children anything. What could they be thinking? Let's hear Mr. Lou's story and find out the reasons behind this. Mr. Lou says, "I'm 72 years old this year, retired for 12 years. My wife is 5 years younger than me and has also been retired for over a decade. We both worked in state-owned enterprises, so after retirement, our combined monthly pensions are over 10,000 yuan. With so much retirement money, we live a comfortable life. We eat whatever we want every day, travel whenever we want, and we're not stingy with ourselves. For us, after working hard for half our lives, retirement is a time to enjoy life. However, even though we are so well off, we've never spent a penny on our children. Some might ask, with such high pensions, wouldn't we have some money left each month to support our children? After all, young people have it tough, and parents should help them. However, my wife and I prefer to keep the money in our pockets, even if it depreciates, rather than spend a penny on our children. Actually, our actions aren't heartless. We see through our two sons. Their behavior has left us cold. My wife and I have struggled in life and know how painful poverty is. So, when our lives improved after entering public service, we were very caring and loving towards our two sons. However, we had boundaries. I spare no expense for what they need, but I firmly refuse to spend money on what they don't need. Perhaps due to my educational philosophy of being tactful and moderate, both sons have always performed well since childhood. Their academic performance was good, and both brothers were admitted to prestigious universities, graduated, and found employment in first-tier cities, got married, and had children. Everything was smooth and stable. Many people admired us, saying we had raised them well, being both working parents, and our sons becoming white-collar workers in big cities, achieving something in their careers. Although both sons were outstanding, my wife and I did a lot to help them build their families and careers. After our eldest son graduated from college, we arranged for him to work in a state-owned company recommended by someone we knew. When he got married, we even paid the down payment for his new house, about 200,000 yuan. Later, when he bought a car, we sponsored tens of thousands of yuan. As for the younger son, his major in college was relatively unpopular, making it difficult for him to find a job after graduation. So, my wife and I spent money to send him for further studies. He didn't get a stable job until he was nearly 30. After he got married, he married a woman from another province, and we spent over 100,000 yuan on his dowry. Moreover, we bought a house for both brothers, spending all the savings we had accumulated over half a lifetime. Later, they both had children, so my wife and I had to retire early to take care of them. My wife retired at 50 to take care of our eldest grandson, and I retired at 60 to take care of our youngest granddaughter. It wasn't until the two children started school that we could rest. So, we can be said to have given everything for our two sons, giving our all. However, we thought that with our selfless dedication to our sons, they would eventually take care of us. But in the end, there was no filial piety, only a desire to live off us. Generally, where there are old people, there's home. And children should come home often to visit. But our sons are different. They rarely come home during festivals, and they seldom call. Our eldest son lives just 300 kilometers away, only a 4-hour drive, yet he only comes home once a year, usually during the Chinese New Year. And each time he comes home, it's as if he's just passing through, arriving empty-handed and leaving with gifts. I remember one New Year's, while neighbors' children brought bags of goods and gifts for their parents, our eldest son was extremely stingy. He drove his SUV home but only brought 2 pieces of clothing for my wife and me, without any New Year gifts. While other children give red envelopes to their parents on New Year's Eve, our eldest son never did. Only the grandchildren were thoughtful enough to give us their red envelopes. And before the New Year was over, our eldest son would leave. Before leaving, he would even go to the kitchen and the small warehouse to clean out the New Year goods we prepared for the family. Whatever he could find, he would take away. That year, I felt that our son and daughter-in-law were too much, so I said a few words to them. But my son replied, "Anyway, you're both so old now. You can't eat so much, and it's a waste to leave things at home." Our younger son was even more excessive. When we bought a house for him, he asked us for money to buy a car later. And when he asked for money, his tone was like that of a bandit, directly saying, "Dad, I want to buy a car. Quickly transfer 130,000 yuan to me. Do it now." I felt very uncomfortable with this demanding attitude from my son. It made me feel like he thought he was the father, and I was the son. So, I refused. Although we could afford to give him 130,000 yuan, I didn't like my son asking for money like that, especially when he already had a car. Buying another one would be a waste. Later, when he couldn't get money for the car, he found other ways to ask for money, saying he needed money to renovate the house, or to start a business, asking for tens of thousands each time. But I saw through his intentions and only gave him a little money each time. Unexpectedly, because I refused to give him money, my son began to treat us poorly, as if we had wronged him. Every time he came back, he was cold and indifferent, leaving as soon as he finished eating, even when we asked him to stay longer. But he heartlessly refused, saying it was uncomfortable staying at home. Gradually, the actions of our 2 sons made us increasingly cold-hearted. 4 years ago, my wife was hospitalized due to osteoarthritis. Although the medical expenses for surgery and treatment were covered by ourselves, my wife wished for our sons to visit her. However, both sons avoided visiting like avoiding a plague. None of them came back, as if coming back to see their mother would cost them money. In the end, both sons only made a simple phone call and showed no real concern. What was originally a simple operation caused my wife a lot of pain, not physical pain but emotional pain. While in the hospital, other patients were accompanied by their children, but we only had each other, which was quite pitiful. Later, when my wife was still recovering, I accidentally fell and fractured my foot. At that time, my wife's back was not good, and she couldn't take care of me. I wanted our 2 sons to come and take care of us, but they kept making excuses. One said he was busy with work, and the other claimed he wasn't feeling well. Despite explaining the seriousness of my condition, they both said they couldn't come. Helpless, I spent money to hire a caregiver. However, during my recovery, I found out through my grandchildren that my eldest son had taken his family to the seaside for a vacation, and the younger son had gone hiking. Knowing all this made me feel more heartbroken than physical pain. After experiencing such things, people say, do we still need to give our savings to our sons? That's why my wife and I gradually let go of our sons, no longer relying on them, and no longer pinning our hopes for retirement on them. Because we are still alive and able to take care of ourselves, if they treat us so heartlessly now, it would be worse if we couldn't take care of ourselves in the future. Therefore, we decided to firmly hold on to our money, not giving our sons a penny even in emergencies. We will reserve enough retirement funds for ourselves. If we can't take care of ourselves in old age, we won't rely on our sons, but we'll go to a nursing home with each other. Although a nursing home lacks the warmth of family and personalized care, I believe that buying services with money will surely be more comfortable and enjoyable than relying on our sons. Perhaps Mr. Liu's situation is rare in reality, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. After all, in today's society, human emotions are as thin as paper, and familial affection is not what it used to be. Especially now, young people pursue freedom and self-enjoyment, and it's rare to find someone who is completely filial to their parents. So, when we grow old, we must hold onto our retirement savings tightly. If children are in trouble, we should help, but not too much. Everyone must experience the ups and downs of life, and children should face their own trials. What we can do is help them within our means when they are in trouble. Many elderly people think about helping their children raise their grandchildren after retirement. But nowadays, many young people prefer to raise their children by themselves and are unwilling to let their parents take care of them. If they don't have grandchildren to take care of, retirement life can be boring. If there's enough pension, life might be manageable, but without it, people can become anxious, thinking about how to earn more money every day. Many people are still young at 60 and can work for another 5 or 6 years. So, what kind of work can they do after retirement? Today, I'll share with you 4 types of jobs that retirees can still engage in. The first type is community security. Many community security guards are retired elderly people. So, if you are retired and still in good health, you can apply to be a community security guard. In the community where I live, several security guards are retired seniors. They sit in the security booth every day, reading newspapers, and help press a button to open the gate when someone comes by. That's about it. The work is relatively leisurely. When looking for security work, try not to aim for high-end communities because many high-end communities have strict management and may not hire retired seniors. Even if they do, the workload can be intense, which might be too much for elderly individuals to handle. It's better to look for opportunities in medium to low-end communities where management is not as strict. However, security work usually involves night shifts. My uncle became a security guard after retirement and has to work night shifts every week, which can be quite tiring. Be mentally prepared for this. As for how to find security work, it's best to have someone you know introduce you. If you don't have any connections, you can inquire at the Community Property Management Office. The second type is being a nanny. Mrs. Gua, 52 years old, retired 2 years ago with a monthly pension of over $3,000. Her husband passed away many years ago, and her only daughter is still studying for her master's degree. Since Mrs. Gu's parents are healthy and she felt unfulfilled doing odd jobs like working at the supermarket or watching over stores, she decided to explore other options. One day, she was sitting on a bench downstairs, lost in thought, when she chatted with an old acquaintance who mentioned his inconvenience due to his current situation. He could still take care of himself, but his only daughter was married and had children elsewhere, and he didn't want to trouble her. He considered hiring a live-in nanny, but thought it unnecessary. Instead, he was looking for someone to cook a meal and clean his house weekly. Mrs. Gu realized there might be many elderly people like him in their community and decided to become a new type of nanny, not living in but offering assistance as needed. She posted messages in their community group, offering her services to cook for the elderly or help young people who needed assistance. To her surprise, she received inquiries from 3 elderly people's children that very night. She started by cooking meals for them according to their preferences and delivering them to their homes. Eventually, she expanded her services to include cleaning and even accompanying them for medical appointments. After more than a month, she noticed a growing demand for such services among the elderly, who often felt neglected by their families. They didn't just need material support but also desired companionship and understanding. Mrs. Gua's interactions with the elderly taught her the importance of empathy and communication. She realized that many elderly people just wanted someone to listen to them and appreciate their stories. Over time, she not only provided practical assistance but also emotional support, enriching her own life in the process. After 6 months, she invited some former colleagues to join her, and they formed a small team to provide similar services in their community, creating a supportive environment for both the elderly and themselves. The third type is setting up a small stall to sell goods. If you have some savings, you can buy a small cart and set up a stall at the entrance of supermarkets or malls to sell fruits or snacks. This is a form of self-employment, albeit with some financial risk involved. It's not advisable for retirees with limited funds to attempt this, as failure is possible at any time. However, for those who enjoy independence and have some spare cash, it could be worth a try. If you have a garden and grow your own vegetables, you can also sell your produce at the stall. The fourth type is working as a dishwasher in a restaurant. After retirement, women may not be able to work as security guards like men, but they can consider working as dishwashers in restaurants. My aunt found a dishwashing job after retirement, working at a restaurant during lunch and dinner hours, with the rest of the day free for rest. However, the pay may not be high. Similar jobs include hotel cleaning staff positions. After retirement, if you need extra income, it's possible to find work. Having money provides a sense of security, and being financially independent is important for retirees. However, it's crucial to find low-intensity work to avoid overexertion, which could lead to health issues. Retirement should focus on enjoying life, with earning money as a secondary consideration. Even if you don't have much money, living a simple life and saving can still sustain you. Lastly, I wish all retired friends a happy and fulfilling retirement. Remember, you're never alone in this community.